I'm Amanda with Mindset Mamas, and I help struggling moms feel empowered in their new role as a mother. And when I learned that I wasn't responsible for anybody else's happiness but my own, it was very, very liberating. And when I say, if I were to ask you, are you responsible for anybody else's happiness? You'd immediately say, no, I'm not responsible for their happiness. But is it easy to let go? I didn't realize I was taking on the fact that I felt responsible for other people's happiness. For instance, my kids were in the back seat. They're 5 and 6, and they start bickering at each other. Immediately, I get involved. Hey, stop doing that. Who did this? Blah, blah, blah. And then I thought to myself, I'm not responsible for their happiness. And I said, hey, you guys, you can figure it out. And guess what? They stopped without me getting involved. How about your friends? Do you try to make your friends happy? Do you try to make your husband happy? Do you try to make your kids happy? Are you responsible for anyone else's happiness? Or are you only responsible for your own? You want others to be happy, but you're not responsible for their happiness. So get this. If I'm not responsible, let's just hypothetically say, for my husband's happiness, then why is it when he says something to me, maybe out of anger, why do I take on that I've done something wrong if he's angry? Think about that. If he's angry at me and he has says something to me out of anger, I used to think, wow, I must have done something wrong. I'm taking on his anger as I've done something wrong. Well, I didn't mean to say that, or I didn't mean to do that, or oh my goodness, I didn't want to make you mad when I did XYZ, even though I felt good doing XYZ. So if I'm not responsible for other people's happiness, why do I take on other people's feelings as my own? I shouldn't be taking on anybody else's feelings because they're not responsible for my happiness or my sadness. Only I'm responsible for me. Do you get that? My kids, sometimes they make me angry. It's not them that's making me angry. They're showing anger and frustration because they're kids and they want ice cream and they want to get out of the car and they want to play and they don't want to pick up their rooms. And so they're displaying their frustration, which they're allowed to do. Everybody is allowed to have their own feelings, and feelings aren't wrong. They're just willing to explain it better than us. They're willing to say, no, Mom, I don't want to do this. And that's how they're feeling. I really don't want to do this, Mom. Well, why don't you want to do it? Shouldn't you want to do the dishes for me? You see, if I'm not responsible for their happiness, they're not responsible for my anger. They're not responsible for my frustration. They're not responsible for my sadness. Guess who's responsible for all of those feelings? Me. My husband's allowed to be angry. Let's say I got a scratch on my car. He's angry about the scratch. I used to think, oh my gosh, I really made him mad because I got a scratch on my car. I didn't put the scratch on my car. Somebody next to me opened the door and got the scratch on my car. I didn't do anything. Why am I taking on his anger? If he's got anger for a scratch on the car, guess who's got to work that out? Why are you so angry? Like, it's just a car. But you're allowed to be angry. You're allowed to be frustrated that now we have to pay to get it repaired. You're allowed to do all those kinds of things. But I'm not taking it on as I've done anything wrong. The freedom to know that everybody's allowed to have their own feelings, and yet it doesn't affect me. Because if I'm not responsible for their happiness, they're not responsible for my reaction and my feelings. Only I am. I'm responsible for my happiness. I'm responsible for my sadness. I'm responsible for my frustration. It's liberating. Now, can you make somebody happy and can you make somebody sad? Well, you can, but don't take it on as you're wrong for doing it. You're not wrong. If you're doing things out of love and you're doing things out of kindness and you're doing things not intentionally to manipulate or to sabotage or to piss somebody off, then you haven't done anything wrong. And just because I got a scratch on the car doesn't mean that I'm a careless driver, or I parked too close, or I should park somewhere else. That's not that at all. And I'm not going to take that on because I didn't do anything. And you can be angry, honey. You got some stuff to work out. Wow. Yeah, I don't care. It's liberating. So think about it. If you're not responsible for other people's happiness, they're not responsible for yours either. Subscribe. See you on the other side.